Hello and welcome to Right Hive 2026 panel. In this economy, how to fund writing on a shoestring budget. Uh, I'm your host, Tej. So glad to be here and to discuss this whole process because I've done self-publishing and it is very easy to end up spending way more money than you intend to. So I hope that we all get to learn some neat tricks to avoid that. So let's go ahead and meet our panelists real quick, and then we will dive into it. So I'm going to call on each of you. Go ahead and tell us your name, what you write, and how long you've been working in self-publishing. We'll go ahead and start with Sylvester.
Hey, I am Sylvester Barzey. I am the author of Camp Lanier, Dead Soil, and the Planet Dead series. I write horror mostly. I dabble in other things, but my main focus is horror. And I've been self-publishing since 2017. Yeah.
My name is Neal Holtschulte, he, him. I write science fiction. I love spaceships. I love outer space. Although actually my work in progress currently is sort of a bizarre post-apocalyptic thing.
Hmm.
My first book was self-published in 2022, and my second was self-published this year.
Hi, I'm Samantha Bryant. I'm a multi-genre writer out of North Carolina. I've written the Menopausal Superhero series, which is superhero action intermixed with comedy, a whole lot of short horror, and most recently, contemporary romance. And I've been working in publishing for about 12 years, but I've only been indie publishing fully for less than a year. I brought out my first collection at the end of 2025, and these are still being released, my Gen X romances. They're not even all out yet.
Hi, I'm Jen Karner, and I'm an award-winning author of fantasy and horror with Kissing. Um, my first novel was Cinders of Yesterday, which was my first indie publishing, but it's after I got my rights reverted from a small publisher, which was in January of 2024. So,
Awesome. So let's set the stage. First of all, we've mentioned that we're talking about how to publish on a shoestring budget and that it's easy to kind of go over budget. But why is it easy to go over budget? It's probably just because of the sheer number of things that you can find yourself trying to pay for. So let's have a really brief discussion, kind of to set the stage. What are some of the common expenses that self-publishing authors should expect to run into?
so I just released my second book, Sense of Survival, last month. And so the things that I came up on were like pre-release marketing, things like getting your book up onto NetGalley, sending out books to people like physical copies for marketing, general like uh, book tour things, and then there's things like ads are the things that immediately come to mind for me when it comes to like getting your book out to as many eyeballs as possible.
There's a production cost, of course, depending on what you do for yourself and what you hire done. There's editing, cover art, audiobook production if you're doing that, layout, all of those things are things that could cost you money or that you could learn to do yourself, depending on, or, trade with a friend or something like that.
So I started like a bare minimum author. My main focus or where my money went first was the cover. Cover and editing were like are the two things that you can't skip. Everything else you can kind of like tiptoe into because like some people don't have money for like ads and the software and stuff. Like it took me, I want to say a year before I could get like Scrivener and get myself a MacBook and things like that. So I think like at the core base level, it's gonna be editor and covers and everything else was gradual for me.
I 100% agree. My list goes editing, cover art, all the layout, interior, exterior, font, formatting, all that stuff. Advanced reviews if you choose to do them, and then advertising, marketing as a whole jungle, again, if you choose to sort of do that stuff. And I 100% agree also, um, cover art, super important. I do think that it can be done yourself. All these things can be done yourself. You just have to sort of learn about them and take the time to do so. But I think for many of us, as written word artists, we're not necessarily also visual artists. And then also the editing. Editing, I do feel, is really hard to do yourself, no matter how much effort you put into it. It's so important to have a professional copy editor take a look at that stuff.
For me, I'm seeing my book over and over again. I see it all day. So I need someone else to look at it. Because when I'll reread it, I can read it out loud or I'll reread it, and I swear the word's there, but it's not. My mind's just scanning over.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
I'm just like
it,
yeah. So yeah,
editing for me is the like one of the most crucial. And then especially if you're not just focusing on ebooks, if you're trying to get your books into like brick and mortar stores or local independent stores, having a
yeah,
book that kind of jumps off the shelf and grabs people by the eyeballs with a great cover, whatever that cover looks like for your genre, is so like it matters so much more than we want to think it matters. Because like, I wish it was more about what's on the inside, but that cover for a lot of readers is the first time that they're going to interact with your story. And if it doesn't have a cover that like interests them, they might never pick it up.
You can't
yeah,
introduce them to the inside right away. They got to start with the cover.
yeah. I definitely read based on covers, so I'm not even gonna lie about that. You would think since
True.
I'm in the industry, I'd be like, no.
I will judge a book by its cover. I
Yeah.
Oh,
cannot judge a
absolutely.
person by their outside, but a book by its cover, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm way more likely to pick up a book that has a pretty cover or something that's like creepy in the right way because I'm a big horror reader than I am for something that's like bland, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to add, somebody mentioned the audiobooks, and I feel like I might be a little bit of a fraud on this panel. I'm not sure that I've published either of my books cheaply, but I do feel like I can speak to audiobooks. I did the audiobook for both of my novels, and have a lot of experience with that now at this point, but started off with nothing really, and looked at many online tutorials and guides and interviews with voice actors, and set up a, blanket fort in my closet to record it. And free Audacity is totally free software
Mhm.
to edit it. It's
Mm.
not easy necessarily, but you can get the job done. And I do feel that an audiobook, you have to be comfortable with your own voice, I guess, is the major thing that was okay for me. And doing voices for your characters. But uh, beyond that, the money I spent was a microphone, which I actually should have looked it up right beforehand. $200,
Mm.
and headphones to listen to it.
Yeah, I can't stand my voice, so I'm not gonna force anyone to hear that for but I just got my first audiobook done. Like it took me forever to get audiobooks done. But I did the royalty split through Audible. So I had a few people audition, and then this one person, she made the production, she did the voices, she did amazing. So and I think the royalty split is like, what is it, like 9 years or something like that? But that was one of the ways I'd rather like pay a narrator outright. But I also got paid bills and stuff, so I just did the royalty split.
Yeah, I did hire my narrator for this one for Not Too Late just outright
Mhm.
because I didn't want to have to deal with the royalty split, the
Yeah.
record keeping and the continual, making of payments. But I have a royalty split arrangement on a couple of other things, and having learned that that is a pain in the butt for me to keep organized, I decided it would be worth it to me to just pay her outright.
So you did at
Yeah.
one point do the royalty split? You had experience with that?
Yes.
I think
And I'm
AT&T.
interested in recording my own, but I haven't been able to get the time to get it together to teach myself what I need to learn before I could do it. So that's future state.
I think ACX handles the royalty split. I hope so. I haven't gotten paid yet, so I'd be very upset if they did.
Yeah, because I originally published through a small publisher, I wound up with a contract with Tantor, so I actually got royalties for three books. One that was already like contracted, which was Cinders of Yesterday, and then Sins of Survival, the audiobook drops in August. I think it's like August 11th. And then I owe Tantor one more book, but so they sent me a royalty check and I got to do it that way, which is the way that I prefer doing it because I am really bad at tracking all of my expenses on a regular and consistent basis. I'll think I'm doing really good at it, and then I'll open my spreadsheet and be like, I have not updated this spreadsheet in 6 months. Why? Why am I like this?
Luckily for me, my sister is an accountant, and so
Oh, see,
she's
that's like a
trying really
cheat
hard.
code.
And then I've given my sister permission to tell me what to do, which has never in the history of mankind happened before.
So I do want to. We've kind of dug into some of the expenses related to audiobooks specifically, um, but in Jen's answer, they mentioned book tours and ads, and I kind of want to zoom in because those are pretty broad categories as well that have a lot of kind of nested expenses that can come up.
Yeah, so because my second book just came out and I'm writing in a series, I have made the decision to not run ads. Mostly because ads, in my experience, tend to do well when you have like a larger library, where people can like pick up that first book and then realize that they want to read more books by you and then immediately go grab more. Ads just never, the ROI wasn't there for me. Like I had very little conversion, even with help from friends who are much better at ads than I am. Um, but it just wound up being like, I think a lot with indie publishing, you end up having the problem of like, what can I spend money on and what can I spend time on? And you have to decide like, every time that you're spending money on or spending time on something that isn't writing, you're you're getting less time on the page, which means you have less books to put out. And I was spending so much time trying to teach myself to be better at ads that I wasn't writing. So I don't do that anymore.
I've had similar experience with ads like Facebook ads, Amazon ads, BookBub ads that I don't see them as worth it for what I've gotten out of them. And that could be because I'm bad at it. I'm willing to admit that. But I have gotten a lot of bang for the buck out of other kinds of advertising, focused a little more local and community wise. Like for example, there's a nonprofit movie theater near me called the Carolina Theater, and I sponsor movies there all the time.
That's brilliant.
And then I get an advertisement as part of the introduction, and that I can say has directly led to opportunities and sales. And I also get to sponsor the Carolina Theater, which I love and would love to help support. So I look for opportunities like that as sponsor something that matters to me rather than give Jeff Bezos more money.
Right.
I sporadically do ads because like I don't do Amazon ads anymore. Like I took a whole course on them and everything, but like a few years ago I moved away from like KU and things like that. So I'm wide now. So I just took my focus off of Amazon ads. Sometimes I'll play with Facebook ads. Um, you know, if I want to lose some money, sometimes I like to play with Facebook ads. But I've tried a TikTok ad. It shows me that a lot of people have seen it, didn't see any sales from it. But so I mean, when it comes to ads, you definitely just need to try different things. At least try something once. Definitely, what is it? Going outside of the box is definitely a great idea. Like working with your theater, I like that. That's awesome. So
I think
yeah.
it also really depends on like what genre you're in because like
Right.
if so like a lot of my friends that do really well with ads are romance heavy novels, and romance tends to convert really well, but my books are like a romance subplot, and so they do not convert as well.
Yeah, Sylvester, also congratulations, if that's the right word, on going wide and not going. I took my first book, Crew of Exiles, off of Amazon's exclusivity and
Yeah.
went broad with it and went broad with the second one from the start. And I'm done with Amazon's nonsense.
Yeah.
It does make it hard though. You can't run price promotions, which is a real benefit. Um, I have not done Amazon or Facebook ads or so what I have done is mailing list ads. Fussy Librarian, Book Barbarian, Book Raid, um, and
Book
and
Sirens
one
is good for that.
what's that?
Book Sirens is another one.
Book Sirens is on my list. I've not used them before. The difficulty is that I used those on my first book when I could run them with a price promotion or with free days. And I did get either sales, I mean, of 99-cent ebooks, so it's not much, or tons of downloads if I ran free days. And the hope is that that then converts into reviews and word of mouth, and that really hasn't quite. I mean, there's reviews, I guess. I have plenty of reviews on the first book. It is a real challenge, though, when you can't run. I can't run price promotions, at least not through Amazon, which is the major seller, unfortunately, for the second book. So I've done very little advertising. I do also want to ditto, though, the idea of doing something locally. I went to Comic-Con, right? I go to my local Comic-Con here in Albuquerque. I'm looking into going into actually like a literary, not a literary, a book convention.
Mm.
It's actually in Tucson. I know there's other book conventions around, and I have heard from other indie authors that they've had good success with those. A fantasy author friend of mine got a booth at a Celtic festival and sold like 40 books in 2 days, which paid for her
Events
booth.
events
And
are major. Like
yeah.
they're the only way I even get close to breaking even. Like my online sales are okay, they're not great. But like I just so last weekend actually I worked a 1 day book festival in Gaithersburg, Maryland, because I'm a Maryland author, and I'm also a LARPer because I'm a giant nerd, and they were doing a market at my LARP, so I had a
Mm.
table there and I sold like almost 38 books across 2 days, which when you're selling like paperback books, uh, it jumps the needle a lot more than like a $5, if your ebook is even $5. Like selling a $20 paperback, which I can sell at in-person events because you get my signature, you get like an art postcard, which only costs me like, I think it cost me like $50 for like 250 of them, and people love the art, and so they're always like, oh yeah, let me get that. And then I end up, that's the only way I'm even getting close to breaking even, much less trying to actually make a profit.
Yeah, I agree that in person is the best way to just kind of build your recognition, name recognition, and this thing is you do an event and that leads to other events. It's even when you don't have a good sales day, you're making impressions, not in that algorithm kind of way, but
Mhm.
actual impressions on people of yourself as a person and of your book, and those lead to ripples that give you other opportunities and other sales.
Yeah, like at Gaithersburg, they had several libraries that were there and
Mhm.
that then went around, and anybody that they thought looked interesting, they were like, "Oh, we want to trade information. We're trying to bring more authors in for events. We're going to order your book for the branch," and that makes it a great way to get your book into the hands of library readers, which immediately like I don't know about you guys, but I'm a grown-up library kid. So the goal has always been to have my books available in the library where anybody can find them when they're just browsing away.
And I went wide with my books because basically because I hate Amazon. I don't have any stronger reason than that. From a business perspective, in some ways, it's a bad thing, especially for romances, because romance readers gobble books and they love their KDP, but I'm not doing KDP. So, but I have been working on ways to actually sell my e and audiobooks at in-person events using a book funnel for downloads and then selling codes. And I've only just started doing it, so I can't tell you how successful an endeavor it is yet, but it cost me almost nothing to set up that I wasn't already spending because I already had a book funnel subscription for all the different things I use it for, and this is just another way I could use it.
Yeah, I've done that too, where I'll put the QR code for the book funnel link on the back of one of those art postcards. And so when you flip it onto the back, it's got the QR code that leads you directly to the download link. And then it's got like, like my name, the book, all of that good stuff. And I'll sell them for whatever the book is selling for that week. Um, I am not wide anymore because I just wasn't moving any books at all. And so KU, much as I hate Amazon and I don't like that that's where I'm at, it was the most financially beneficial option for me. But I also, again, I do a lot of in-person events, and then my print books are not published through Amazon. They're all through Ingram Spark, which makes it
Oh,
easy for
and I don't
me.
mean any shade about going
Oh
wide.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, no.
no.
I understand
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Yes.
meant that it's a slightly different perspective, as I think the only person in here who's still on KU or
Well,
primarily
financially,
publishing on
it can be a
Amazon.
really wise decision.
Exactly.
You don't have to buy ISBNs if you're only going to do Amazon. You can just use their free things, and you get those free promotions that Neil was talking about. And you can find a lot of readers that way. So
Yeah,
financially,
I
it's a
still
wise
buy my
decision.
I still buy my own ISBNs. It's just the ebook that's only on Amazon. I publish my paperbacks and my hardbacks through Ingram Spark because it's really easy for me to order like 50 or 100 books at a time. And then I funnel any like Maryland has so many independent bookstores in Baltimore City in particular. We've got like more than 10 in the city, which is a crazy amount. And so I have a wholesale form that any independent bookstore that wants to buy my books, they order them directly from me. So they come with swag. And it makes it so that I don't have to accept order or returns on Ingram Spark. But because the bookstores are dealing with me directly, I have returns built into like my at-home system. So I never get tagged with
Brilliant,
like
and I'm stealing it.
yeah, that way I never get tagged with like a $500 out of the blue return fee from Ingram Spark. But if my books don't move at an independent bookstore for whatever reason, they can return them for the same amount that they bought them for. And it makes it much easier on the booksellers. And then also like I'm getting all of the money, like there's not Ingram Spark taking that like in the middle cut of whatever your discount is, which is the way that it works if an independent bookstore orders your books directly from Ingram.
We've highlighted some things as being things to really get into. We've talked about other things as things not really worth doing. How do you determine those priorities? How do you prioritize where you're going to put your money and when you're going to put your money into these different places?
So so subscriptions are the killer to me because
Mm.
you forget that they're hitting every month and then you look up and you're like, oh, I've spent $70 on book stuff this month. And this is talking from personal experience, and I've made $25 this month. That's not tenable. So like Pacemaker is a really popular program for tracking your writing journey. Instead of using Pacemaker, I have an Excel document thing that I bought off of Etsy for $5 5 years ago, and it tracks my words, my projects, how much time I spent, and I never have to pay for it again. Before I will pay for anything, I will do the free trial and I will
Mm.
give it a fake number that isn't real, so it can't charge my card. And that way, if I get to the end of like the 2 weeks or the 30 days and I'm like, oh, this isn't what I need, or I'm not using it or anything like that, I know that it's not worth my time. For me, it's always, does this actually like is this worth paying for? Is very much like an ROI. So the only big things that I pay for every month are like my website, which I need to change to a yearly plan, but I don't have $300 to do that with right now.
Mm.
Um, I pay for a book funnel because I do stuff with my newsletter. Um, and those are the big ones, honestly, that are like an every month thing. Past that, I think it goes back to that like what you're willing to spend time on, what you're willing to spend money on. If you're willing to spend money on something, you're probably going to save yourself time. But if you don't need to save time, you might as well save money.
I have a little bit of a contrast to that. So on both my books, I this is why I feel like a little bit of a fraud on this panel. I went with an author services company for help with um, layout and putting layout mainly. And on the first book, the cover as well. On the second book, I had a friend of mine who's a graphic designer do it, and I paid them also. Um, just I want to be clear about that because, definitely at some point, if somebody hasn't said it already, we absolutely should be cultivating our networks and, seeing who we know, who has different skills. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that there's either got to be an exchange of services or of money because don't abuse your network, basically. Um, but what I was contrasting was I had the experience of spending both time and money on certain things. And I kind of want to just say that don't necessarily think that, oh, just because you're spending money on something, you're not going to be spending time. There is an immense amount of back and forth and communication, both over email, over Zoom calls, um, the coordination and trying to get things just right, and people not being necessarily up to your standards sometimes, the people that you've paid. It's a real struggle and it does take a lot of time. And there were absolutely points where I thought to myself, I think I could have learned how to do this and done it myself faster. And then I would have also had those skills forever into the future. And I don't now. I'm
Yeah.
going to do things differently if and when a third book comes out. And I plan on doing it basically 100% myself. I plan on hiring a copy editor. I have a good friend who actually does technical writing for a living, but he's an excellent copy editor. And for my most recent book, Tallboy Son, I have a friend who's a graphic designer, and she helped me. She helped me with concept. She helped me put it all together, and I think that's important as well.
Yeah, on the note of like having a network, so both of my books were published through a co-op, which helped to subsidize a lot of the things that I needed done. Like, I rely heavily on like my friends to be beta readers to let me know, because my brain will tell me that a book is broken when it's just a first draft. It's a problem. Um, but also that's the only reason I could afford my ISBNs, and we do like a skill share. So everybody has their own channel within our wider Discord where we're like, these are the things I'm good at. If you need these things, let me know. And they have like ISBNs for everybody in the co-op, which was the only reason that when I got my rights back, I could republish because on January 1st of 2024, I was not independently published. And then on January 11th, I was
Mm.
with no warning.
Tagging on to what Neal was saying, I was interested in indie publishing for a long time before I actually did it. And one of the reasons came down to whether I could afford the time and or money. You know,
Mhm.
I got in traditional publishing and learned enough about how the sausage is made to understand what all the pieces were I was going to have to do. And at the time, I had young children, and my day job was teaching, which is extremely demanding. It would be a 48-hour a day job if they could get away with that legally. Um, and so I had very limited time, and very limited money. And so I was like, I can't. Even though I would love the level of control, and making all of the decisions about the process, it just wasn't feasible for me. So that's one reason why I waited until now, when my children are both legal adults now. If I have to, I can kick them out.
Yeah.
Sylvester, it looked like you were
Um,
going to say something.
Yeah, when I had my second son, I definitely had to like look at my writing business and like revamp a lot because I got to a point where I felt like I was just kind of burning money on things that I could probably get for cheaper. Like I had my website, I love them, but they were expensive. Was Squarespace, so I did my blog and my website and my store was all there. And when I left Amazon, my main goal was to sell through my website. But Squarespace at the time, they didn't, what do you call it? They didn't work with BookFunnel. So I would have to actually send the files myself. So that was the main reason I stepped away from it. But was it Canva gives you a free website. All I have to, and I have my like domain from GoDaddy, and that's like I pay for the year or something. So Canva is free, and then I have Spotify, or not Spotify, Shopify, which is I think it's $39 a month, and it connects with my book funnel, and I pay like $10 for book funnel, so that's $49. And then I found Substack. So now that's where I blog and do my newsletters and stuff. But yeah, it saved me probably about like $40, which isn't much, but it's good enough for me.
But it adds up though. Like it's like publishing will nickel and dime you
Yeah.
on like I'm spending like $5 here or $10 there. And if it was just that $5 or just that $10, it wouldn't be a big deal. But
Yeah.
because you need like the whole spectrum of things in order to be like on top of everything, like being an independent author is actually like 8 jobs dressed as raccoons in a trench coat trying to break into the movie theater.
Yeah.
Okay. And because of that, you end up needing like a lot of different tools. And so if you're not careful, you will look at your bank account and be like, I've spent over $100 this month just on subscriptions. And I'm not even using all of the subscriptions or all of the features on the like tier of subscription that I'm on. Um, which is so bad.
Yeah, I definitely hate subscriptions. I'd rather pay for something once a year.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah.
why I got a MacBook. I bought a MacBook specifically. Um, and also on the note of like having a MacBook, you don't have to buy your technology new. You can save yourself money by using one of the technology resale sites like Swappa, SWAPPA. I got I bought a 2020 MacBook that was still in the package for $700, and it's a MacBook Pro that would have been a $2,500 laptop in 2020. And all I had to do when I opened it was update it, and now it's a brand new laptop that I spent a third, a quarter of what I would have spent on for that, but it got me access to Vellum, which is my favorite formatting software. I tried Atticus and we did not get along. Um, like it's unfortunate that so many Creative Suite products are kind of like locked behind Mac, but there are ways you can still kind of like sneak around the price tag to get the most bang for your buck. Because if you just need something to be like your author machine, you don't necessarily need something that's like super top of the line. You can get something that's a few years older and it's still going to do everything you ask it to do. And then, like, if the money starts rolling in, you can adjust and buy yourself the newer, nicer thing, or get the program that's much more expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
don't
Yeah.
need like a top of the line graphics card if mostly what you're doing is writing novels. Yeah.
exactly.
I
Um,
I tried to format my book in Google Docs and I lost my mind. So I ended up buying me a Mac and I
F's
bought it
in the
off of
chat.
eBay. I was very scared because I wasn't sure if it was going to show up working, but it did. So I got me Vellum, and Vellum is amazing. I love Vellum, and I love Scrivener. So those are like my go-to things.
Yes, Scrivener, I have bought Scrivener when I have it for Windows, I have it for iOS, and I have it for Mac. And I will say that on Mac is superior in every possible way, but it is worth every penny because I can keep everything all in there down to like images. And Scrivener is not a subscription-based product, guys. You buy it once, unless you're me and you jump from system to system to system like a crazy person. But once you buy it, you have it forever. And if you lose your key, you can just email them and they'll send it to you again.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Scrivener. I used to use the because you could have the app on your phone as well.
Mm.
And I used to use Dropbox, but I don't use them anymore. But if you used it with Dropbox, then you were able to basically access your stories on your phone. So I would just work when I was supposed to be working. But now I work from home, so I don't have to do that anymore. I did want to touch on something that I think Neil was saying about him with the Amazon and price. What
Mm.
basically I don't quote me on it, I guess not, but I contacted Amazon about my books and I have them basically price match them. So whenever they're on sale somewhere else, Amazon has to put it on sale there. So that kind of helps.
That's interesting. I didn't know that was an option. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you can just have them price match your stuff. You just gotta email them.
Yeah, it makes sense because they still want to make money. And if your book is more expensive there than it is somewhere else, they're not going to make money off of you that week or
Yeah.
month or whatever.
Mhm.
So logically, it makes sense. Is Amazon logical? Not really, but we can pretend.
Yeah.
They are big fans of undercutting, though, and
Yeah.
there you go.
And
So, oh, go ahead,
oh,
please.
oh, I was just saying I did leave them for a number of reasons, but as far as like selling wide, I enjoy it. I like it mostly because I have no patience, and basically if you buy something from my site, I get my money tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I enjoy that. That helps me. So yeah, that's my main thing. I just like, and it gave me more freedom. I can post my books places versus KU. I was always wondering if they were gonna like penalize me for having it on my blog or something.
We've talked a fair bit about money that's coming in and especially money that's going out. How do you track and manage your budget while you're publishing and, you know, balancing all of these subscriptions and not subscriptions and editors and, royalty splits and things like that? How do you manage and track all of that?
I don't have good advice on record keeping other than let my sister boss you around and it'll help. But I something I've done is to try to space out my expenses. So like, for these new projects, these Gen X romances, I had in mind that I would release them one right after another, and so I wrote them, and then I had a kind of a schedule for when I would have them edited and when I would pay for each of the covers, so that I didn't have everything due all at the same time. And so, I spent $400 a cover, but I didn't give her $1,200 on one day, right? I gave her $400 here and $400 here and $400 here. And Hannah made these fantastic covers for me. And the same with my editor. I had my slots scheduled across time, and it meant that I delayed my release because I didn't want to release any of them until all three were ready. Because like I said, romance readers are book gobblers, and generally
Right.
that you want to have the next one ready very quickly. Um, but that's a way I helped myself, is to try to make it so I'm not paying for all of it at the same time.
I do the same thing except with big expenses. So like one month will be like my website renewal, my hosting renewal. I have a SFWA membership, so I have that like in the spring. I have like certain months, and it's never 2 months in a row because I was a freelance writer for a very long time, which meant I never knew how much money was coming in month to month. Um, and so that way I would be able to like prepare in advance and be like, okay, so May is SFWA month. I need to have $100 for that. Or January is website renewal month. So I need to have $80 because I pay for a Google Workspace account because then I can have my nicer email at my domain name and all kinds of stuff with that. And that's also like my web hosting and all of that good stuff. And so that way I can sit down with my paper planner because I'm one of those people. Um, and know like when everything is going to be coming up due. But I try to give myself like, we'll have one big thing this month, but not the next month, and do it like alternate months so that even if something catastrophic happens to my finances, nothing like falls through the cracks. I've always got time to like pivot and readjust to like get back on track. So I found a great set of spreadsheets on Etsy again that were literally built for authors. So it was like one purchase of either like $5 or $10. It wasn't very expensive, but it lets me break everything out into categories of like what money is coming in, like where is it coming in from, how much is coming in, what's the date. The same thing with money going out, and then it breaks everything down into a P&L ledger for me. And it even breaks out like this is production cost. This is like where you're at. It gives me graphs. It does all the things that I never learned to do in Excel because I do words and Excel is magic. Um, and so that's what I swear by at this point because it's super user friendly and lets me just toss everything in there. It took me a couple of hours on Etsy one night of just looking. There's so many things that are like for authors on Etsy from the people who are Excel wizards, in the same way that like the budget wizards are also all over Etsy. And so you can find something that works for you and then you buy it once, you never have to buy it again. I got one that gave me an option for either Google Sheets or Excel. I went with Google Sheets because Google Sheets is free and Excel is a subscription now. Um, and so that's my way of tracking everything. And it's been great because it's not complicated. It gave me instructions. All I have to do is put my like once a month, I sit down for like 2 hours and I enter everything in there. And then I go and I look at my P&L sheet and it'll be like, hey, this is how much you spent. This is how much you earned. You're this close to like meeting your production costs. And that's the way it's got to be for me, or I will just never update it again.
Yeah, I'm in that never updated. I do have sheets, and I'll get to a point where I'm like really positive. I'm like this month I'm gonna keep track of everything. My calendar is gonna be fire. And then like halfway through the month, I guess I give up on myself. I don't know what happens, but
It's such a mood, though.
I was gonna say with the covers, I think like the more you do this, you build systems and then you have like your whole how you go about it. So like for me, um me and my cover artist like started at the same time. So she charges people like 600 and something, but I pay 100 because that was my original price. So we're still together. And and then if I'm not using her and I'll do what do you call it? The pre-mades. I'll shop the pre-mades, see if those go. But my one of the things that I like a lot, I don't know now in the age of AI how they're working, but Get Covers was always amazing. It was like $30 and I got my ebook cover, the paperback wrap and all the other stuff. So that was always good. So
Yeah,
Get
there's a
Covers.
lot of great pre-made
Yeah.
creators out there for all different genres. You just kind of have to look at them. I know that Art Dare, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'll write it in the Discord when you guys watch this. Makes some great covers. I opted to go with an artist who had done some pre-release artwork for me because I'm obsessed with her art style, and I had the money to be like, yes, I'm willing to pay $500 for the cover. But she also did my ebook cover, my paperback cover, my hardback cover, and then also sent me all of the Photoshop files so that I could then send that cover to my audiobook publisher so that they could readjust and resize it for audiobooks. And it's original artwork. So I know nobody else has that artwork, which was really important to me personally. Um, like I, the only thing I spent more on than my cover, was the editing. Everything else has been less than half of what I spent on the cover. And I had to sit down and look at myself in the mirror and be like, can we afford this? And so what I also did was I do like payment plans. So I'll do like 50% upfront and then 50% when the product is finished, which makes it much easier because then I can be like, okay, you're starting. So with my covers with Sins of Survival, I paid the deposit in August and then I paid the second half in December, which again let me space it out. But $250 in a month is a lot easier to do than $500 in a month. I also did a payment plan with my editor. I love a good payment plan. Payment plan is a great way if you are broke or on a budget to kind of like more easily be able to afford things that you wouldn't be able to afford in like a lump sum. And a lot of people in the industry, whether it is artists or editors or formatters, if they're charging you for something that's more than like $300, they're usually down to do some kind of payment plan with you. You just have to ask.
As a
Yeah.
child of the 70s and 80s, I love a good layaway plan.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just use a spreadsheet to keep track of my expenses and income. One tab is income, one tab is expenses. Expenses are just how much, to whom, what for, and then another column for notes, and then another column if there's like a category tag I want to put on it. I just literally just type it in. If it's marketing, if it's I'm just purchasing more books, whatever it is. And then income is usually simpler because it's just who's the income coming from, which tells me if it's audiobook sales or tells me if it's book sales or whatever. Um, I don't use any fancy Excel. I don't even graph anything. I think I made a line graph at one point because I was curious and it didn't really tell me anything. um, we're talking about cover a little bit. I think there's a lot one can do with covers to save money. I mean, so this book cover right here, the picture of Jupiter is a free picture of Jupiter. It's a royalty-free image. I don't recall exactly if it's a NASA image or what it is, but it's just a royalty-free image. So my cover artist, did I don't know if it can show up in the Zoom, but there's the little moon Adrastea there, which she just hand drew. And then there's a little tiny starship and little starscape, and that was it. And then it was just arrangement and all the rest. But there wasn't that much to do. And there's a website called Pexels, Pexels, where you can get free images. And I use that mainly for like if I'm making a video or something and I want some background image. But one could easily use it, I assume, for book covers as well. So I think there's a lot that can be done with that.
Oh yeah, like um I swear by Canva. I'm like a Canva hoe. I'm always on Canva. So sometimes if I'll make my own book cover, it depends on what it is. Like if it's like a short story, because I'll make a book cover for short stories just to visualize things. I'll make my own book cover, or if I can pull it off. But for the most part, I'll try and put that out there because like yeah, I like making images, but that's not 100% my wheelhouse. I don't feel comfortable sometimes. But with I do all my marketing images and stuff through Canva, my videos, my marketing images, like, and then
Canva makes everything so much easier. It's wild.
it does. It gives you the ratio and everything, and I love Canva,
Magic resize. I'm gonna make
right?
one image and you're gonna make it
Right?
7 different sizes so I can post it
Yeah.
everywhere.
I love Canva. Like definitely if you're gonna go on social media to market yourself, you should definitely use Canva. It's a good investment. It is.
Yes. That's another thing that I pay for. That's one of the only other subscriptions that I have. I forgot that one earlier, and then you reminded me.
Yeah.
I've been using Krita, Krita for image making. It's free. I don't know if it has those features that you're talking about, like the all the image resizing and all that, or the automatic image size generation or whatever that was called. But it's a free one. That's just I
Yeah,
wanted to pop in with
Nice.
that.
Canva's free. If you want like the pro stuff, then you gotta pay for it. But
Oh,
Canva's free.
Yeah,
gotcha.
But you get a whole
I
bunch of
pay for
free images and stuff. Yeah.
I pay for mine, but that's because at one point I was doing a lot more with it. I have to decide later this month whether I'm just going to cave and get the year-long membership as this month's big purchase, or if I'm going to kick that down the road to like July, because I finally have enough that I can turn a couple of my subscriptions into yearly versus monthly, which is also a really good way to save yourself some money, because you're going to end up paying more if you're paying by month than if you have the ducats to throw it all at that subscription for a full year. Um,
If you're paying in ducats, you probably shouldn't. They're taking advantage of you.
but my doubloons,
I definitely love yearly. Like I believe my Canva's yearly. So I just love paying for it, getting it out of the way, not worrying about it. I will
yeah,
definitely suggest you to anybody, make sure you keep track of what day you paid for it for, because nothing sucks more than just opening up your bank account and seeing that something's gone.
yeah, yeah. Another one that I do, so because I do like a not insignificant number of in-person events, like some of them are at breweries or things like that. I also have a Vistaprint premium membership, which is like $60 a year, but it gives you crazy discounts. And so last year I saved something like almost $600 by using it. If and the great thing is it's once a year, so you can like if you just want to buy all of your promotional materials for like the next 3 years, you can do that. It stacks with the coupons on Vistaprint, so it's a great way to get all of your like art prints, postcards, bookmarks, table banners, all of that, and then you can get it all at that discount and then cancel the membership. Um, but that was a way that I saved myself on things like my pop-up banners or my table, like stuff for my table, signage, all of that kind of thing. I did the math and realized that it's like almost a 30% discount across the board. So if you're buying enough, it absolutely adds up and was worth the subscription for me.
I don't really have art prints. I make images and I'll get prints, but I don't use Vistaprint for that. I'll use Vistaprint for like my bookmarks and stuff. But like my sister had an app. I forget what it's called. It's okay, free prints. So basically it's like a photo printing app. So
Nice.
every month you get like about 80 free images that you can print. And then you just pay
Nice.
shipping. So like that's what I do. Like I'll make mines in Canva and then like I'll just print them like pictures. Yeah, like that.
Nice. Yeah, I've commissioned a bunch of art because it makes social media marketing easier. When I have pretty pictures, I can shake at people. Um, and so that's then I will then also get like 8 by 10 printouts of those and offer those at my table, especially on like Sundays of a convention where I'll like, if you buy a book, you get a free art print, or like if you buy a book, you get a tote bag for
Yeah,
five
for the
dollars
last
more,
day. Yeah.
stuff like that, which can convert sales. And it literally costs me like pennies comparatively because the prints are something like 54 cents each sometimes, depending on like when I buy them. Um, like I have a variety of merch that I'll like price out how much I am spending by item, and then that's how I figure out how much I'm selling it for, so that I'm never buying anything that's like out of my budget, even if it means that I'm spending like $150 right now on tote bags. That probably means I'm gonna have tote bags for like 3 years.
Yeah.
I think we've started to touch on this a little bit. But we've been talking a lot about things that are worth throwing money at. what are some pitfalls? What are some things that are not worth throwing money at that self-published authors might be inclined to fall for, or that they might get pressured into falling for, or that just are maybe even are worth it eventually, but are not worth getting into early on?
I
Classes.
Yes. I was about to say I don't want to dunk on any like of the
Um,
coaches, but I don't really feel like
I
them.
Yeah, I think it depends entirely on person to person what you need to level up as a writer. Some classes are worth it, and some classes are not worth it. And part of the way that you figure this out is by looking at other people who have taken those classes. Like, one of the ones that I would say was worth it for me and for some of my friends was Becca Symes's Write Better Faster class. If only because it got into the psychology of like who I am as a writer and how to work to my strengths and negate my weaknesses. And it helped me like figure myself out so that I could be more effective at what I do. Um, uh, in the same way, like writing intensives, if you are planning to stay indie, if you are not planning to query and try to become hybrid and go traditional, writing intensives might not be for you because a lot of those depend on agents and editors that are working with trad houses. And so you might pay $500 and you do get to network with people, but if you're never planning on querying, then you could definitely spend that money better elsewhere. Um, some classes are great. You will get targeted ads for things that are like, this is the greatest Instagram course ever. It'll teach you how to
Yeah.
do ads. And then if you dig into it, you can look at it and be like, that's all stuff I already know how to do. I don't
Yeah.
need this. I think it also depends on like where you are in your journey. So if you're like a newer author who doesn't have experience with like Canva, doesn't have experience with like marketing and hooks and how to like how to create like an elevator pitch, how to do all of the different stuff that we do, then those could be more helpful for you. But I've seen so many classes across the like wide variation that I don't trust at all.
No.
Um,
I would say you can do better for educational opportunities by joining professional organizations.
yes.
Like I'm a member of the Horror Writers Association, and I've gained so much from the mentorship and the conversations with the writers there. I'm in another one called Women in Publishing and Women's Fiction Writers Association. And I gain, I pay my membership fee, which is not that much, and I get access to lots of people with a lot of experience. And these people who are sending me ads, you go and you look them up, and it's like somebody's like, you can sell X number of books a year, I'll help you do it. And you go and you look, and they don't have any books. They
No.
have a book
Yeah,
about how to sell books, but they don't have any actual books published under their name, right?
it's
Or
because, oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I
Google
didn't mean to
does
cut
not
you off,
do reviews.
Samantha.
Well, the same thing when they're trying to sell you followers. Bot
Yeah.
followers are not real followers who are going to turn into people who buy your books or anything like that. They're just numbers.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
sharp difference between an author or a writer who like is trying to share their information and somebody who is a salesperson who is
Yeah.
targeting authors or writers. And it takes a while before you can figure out like the difference between those two things, which
Yeah.
sucks, honestly. Um, but I think the biggest thing that I spent money on that I didn't need to spend money on early on was like classes. Like if
Yeah.
I could go back and shake 2019 Jen, that's what we would be. That's what I would shake her about.
I always say for me, definitely, before I pay money for a class, I'm gonna take myself to YouTube University and watch as many videos as I can before I do anything. But I have blown money on classes where I just felt like this is useless. Like I could have definitely learned this by just Google or whatnot.
The other way I'll do it is I'll ask around the various communities of like writer friends I have. I'm in a lot of Discords, I'm in Slack groups, I'm in all kinds of stuff. And so I'll just post a thing up on like threads and be like, "Hey, has anybody taken this class? How did you feel about it?"
Yeah.
Which is what I did before I took the Write Better Faster class, and I had literally hundreds of people tell me how great it was for them. And then that was one of the classes where I got to like keep all of the coursework essentially. And so I literally
That's
printed off and I put it in a binder so I can revisit it whenever I need to. Because at my heart, I am an analog gal.
Is
I
it a
think
trapper
everybody,
keeper with like the beach scene on the front?
It is not a Trapper Keeper with the beach scene, but it is a color coded binder. I also color code my notebooks because I'm that guy.
I think we definitely all should be very skeptical of stuff that's being advertised towards. I think that's the biggest pitfall is that you're going to have a lot of stuff advertised
Yeah.
towards you, and more it's personally advertised towards you.
Mhm.
As it was within a week of the first review of Tall Boy Sun going up that I was getting personalized emails about how, oh, my book is so great and it could be positioned better for more sales, and
Yeah, that's the giant one right now. Did you get
Yeah,
yeah.
the book club
AI.
scans?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the book, yeah, book clubs. Oh, we're a 2,000 member book club that really is interested in your book, and oh, and to give other people more information about this, it's a thing where they ask you, or at least the particular one that I got, asked me to fill out a little sheet of, who are you? Tell us a bit about your writing journey and your book and whatnot, and I read through this email that they sent me, and it looked to me like the scam was get me to feel invested by doing these things, and they were going to say they were going to do some free stuff up front. And then once I'm sort of Stockholm syndromed in because it's no, it's not that. It's the
It's
sunk cost fallacy
yeah, it's a sunk
is what it
cost
is.
fallacy.
They sort of get you on step three or some step down the line rather. But I do want to say about classes though. So relatively early on in my writing journey, there's a great resource, a public or a nonprofit rather, in Rochester, New York. It's called Writers and Books, and they put on classes. And I took a class with Nancy Kress, a famous sci-fi author. I don't know how famous. It's hard to be famous if you're in the sci-fi know. Nancy Kress, Nebula Award-winning author, let's say at least. And this was sort of like hiring a personal tutor. I mean, it was a small group tutor, right? And that really advanced me as a writer. Now that was back in 2009-ish. So like it's a different landscape nowadays with all the ads that are coming at us. A little bit more recently, I think it was like 2016. I took a Coursera course, Write Your First Novel with David Wheeler. It was entirely free, right? And he talked about YouTube University. Brandon Sanderson's got like a gajillion hours of lectures on there. Anne Lamott has a bunch of her stuff out, and also you should read her book, at least one of them. There's a ton of great resources, but I do feel that and maybe, it's just your critique group that you cultivate or, who your writer friends are. That's not necessarily a class per se, but it fulfills the role of it in some ways. And I do think some classes are valuable, but yeah, all the stuff, I assume everything I'm being advertised is a scam nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
the best way
definitely
to go
like
about it.
the lecture style thing you can get from different authors. Like Maggie Sveitvater also had one that I've gotten. I think it's just like you're absolutely right. Some of them are super helpful. If it's being advertised to you, you should squint your eyes at it. Another great free resource is just listening to like good writing podcasts, which can really help. Like I really like V.E. Schwab's writing podcast when it is airing because of the conversations of like listening to other authors can like trick things into your brain into turning on and unraveling the messy knot of whatever story is torturing you or me. They're always torturing me.
Absolutely. I do think that even with writing podcasts and anyway, I was just going to say that unfortunately, everything also in our modern society is engagement oriented and is therefore some form of bait. I find this with YouTube University. You know, there are the creators who I trust and have sort of come to know over the years. But there's also constantly popping up in my feed these clickbait titles, oh, these 20 things identify you as a newbie author, and I'm like, I don't even want to watch that. Like maybe that creator puts out good content, but it's in such a distasteful packaging. And, I've not gone through all of the good people that I've come to trust, all their material. I'm at least gonna sort of start there.
I know when I started, with as far as YouTube and like podcasts and stuff, I was definitely Dale Roberts. I watched a lot of his videos and Joanna Penn and Jenna Moreci and stuff like that. So they were a lot of help. Yeah, mostly I'll listen to podcasts, I'll watch YouTube videos, I'll read a book. Yeah,
Craft
I
books
don't
are where it's at, man.
yeah.
I love a good craft book. I have an entire shelf of them. You can reread them 100 times. There's new ones every couple of years. I swear by craft books. Like
Yeah,
anytime
craft
I
book.
have a friend who is like just getting into writing, I'm like, I have some required reading for you.
Yeah.
At this point, I think more than a structured class, I value things like this. Honestly, just freewheeling conversation with other people who are also doing it, and I get some ideas I can borrow. I can ask questions
Yes.
about how something they're doing worked for them. And, that kind of mentorship sharing among colleagues is a big part of the writing community. And I would say the writing community is in general full of generous hearted people who are happy to try to help you on your journey.
Yeah, I will say that I would never have published Sins of Survival if I had not made like in-person writing friends near me that I yeeted my first draft at one of them because I thought it was trash and had for years. That's years, guys, plural. And then she read it and rolled into my DMs like, Jen, baby girl, it's just a first draft. But having that like circle of people where like you can vent not in public, in a group chat, away from the public eyes, where you can just vent about whatever's going on or talk about how like, oh, I'm having issues with this, or like, oh, I'm prepping for a thing. Like that shared pool of experience cannot be underestimated, and nobody's gonna like, there's not a price tag on it. Um, there are also certain conferences, things like Sirens Con, which are a great place to go and meet new writers or new to you writers, I guess I should say, and kind of like level up. That was where I met Sarah Gailey, and one of the speakers the year I went was Fonda Lee, and some of the classes I went to there, like the lectures, what panels, there we go, I found the right word. Um, were immeasurably helpful to me. But those were things that I did in person, where it was also really easy to like network and meet people in a way that I think sometimes when you're dealing with stuff in like a cohort in an online environment, it can be much harder to make a connection with another person. And it's not to say that it's impossible, just for some of us of a certain age, I'm talking about me here. It's just easier for me to connect people when I'm like in person than over a computer because when I'm at my computer, I'm so easily distracted. If I'm there in person, like I can feel the like zaps of the universe being like, you and this person will have delightful stories together. And that group of people can level up your writing without you ever spending a dime on your friendship or your interactions with them.
Yeah, and if you can't find writing related groups near you, the thing to do is to try to start one. Like one of the smaller places I lived in my life was Kodiak, Alaska. It's a tiny little place. And I needed a writing community. And so I made a little poster. I hung it on the bulletin board at the library, and I found six other people who remained lifelong friends and have been a big part of my writing journey. So don't feel like you have to find something already existing. You can also begin to create your own community.
Yeah.
Yes. And for those people who don't go outside, like myself, you can find things on like Facebooks and whatnot. There are writing groups on Facebook. I've been in a few. Um, but then, I also run into the same thing that I do with going outside. I don't like to communicate as much. But I agree with everything you guys say. And if I was a little more prone to making friends, I would love to do all of
I don't go out on a regular basis. It has to be like a scheduled event. Like, oh,
it.
there's a conference I want to go to. Okay, cool. I'm at the conference. I will turn on the extrovert for the conference. And then as soon as it's over, I'm going to get everybody's handles so that we can talk on Discord, and I'm going to go back to my habitat where it's climate controlled, it's got the right lighting, it has all my
Yeah.
books.
Yeah, I
So,
also I
oh,
also agree that critique groups are invaluable, and I do think you cultivate those friend groups. There are always downsides, or one thing I have found though about writing critique groups is that sometimes you get folks who are lonely and just want to talk and don't want to improve their craft as writers. You get some people who want to use it as free therapy. And so you do. My personal preference is to set lots of ground rules about what the structure of the critique group is, but that may be a different panel. So I'll just leave it at
Right.
that.
Yeah. I've had to be the lady who kicked somebody out of our critique group because, it just wasn't going to work.
Yep.
And sometimes you have to put on your big girl pants and go do it.
so with our last little bit of time, let's talk a little bit about income, uh, for funding publishing. So obviously there's, if you can have money, if you're independently wealthy and you still care about this panel, that's cool. But for the rest of us, where are some places that you can go to get money, and how do you engage with them? Things like Kickstarter or grants or anything like that. Have you guys engaged with all these various sources for funding?
Yeah, I have done grants. My local library gave some like local creatives kinds of grants. They're small, a couple of $100s, but a couple of $100s can be what you need sometimes to get to do a new experience. I have never put on a Kickstarter, but I've had my work in a project that was done on Kickstarter, and that was enough to show me that I will never be the one to run a Kickstarter because I saw how hard the people doing it had to work. It's all about engagement, and wow, that looked exhausting when I was only kind of participating on the side. Um, Honestly, I'd say I get most of my finances that help me get the writing stuff going is just from other sources, my day job. I keep a day job, and I probably will for quite some time because, this doesn't pay regularly and enough to let me have all the lovely things that I want to have in my life, like a roof over my head and groceries every day. So, um, my day job and like gifts from friends and family, when I wanted to order a new display thing that I didn't have money for it, my mom just bought it for me for my birthday that year. So it's not always a big fancy grant where you can say I won the blah 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 award or anything like that. It's just the ordinary places we all get money for the things we want to do.
I think Kickstarter is amazing. I'm definitely not Kickstarter savvy. I've seen a lot of my friends, I've seen them blow up, but not, no, I can't do that. But I do, but Substack allows for people to kind of like support you. So I have people that'll pay like a yearly fee to get like short stories and things like that, or they'll pay like monthly and whatnot.
Yeah,
I
There's
also,
also
A lot of people do for that too.
Ghost.io, which is the same basic setup. It's just
mhm.
not as discoverable as
uh,
Substack is.
And there was one year where I basically had all the rights back to my short stories. So just went around just selling them. I sold them to a YouTube channel for like horror, where they narrate horror stories, and I got about like close to like 250 to 300 each story, so that was pretty good. And then you can also, just look for places that are accepting short stories. You can write short stories. I feel like short stories are a good way to make money, if you want to do that, because they're just easier to knock out. If you
Yeah,
already
getting
have,
into a good anthology, like,
yeah,
because then you don't have to do, you're only doing the work of
yeah.
like maybe promoting that you're in the anthology and writing the story, but otherwise it's out of your hands.
I love anthologies. Yeah, because they cover the editing, they cover the cover. Like I just give them the story and be there. That's all I need to
I
do.
got you, Dis.
Yeah. And then if they pay for it, like some of them won't pay for it, and then you'll just like split the money. Like they'll do
Yeah,
like something rabbit. I forgot
like
what.
a benefit. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
done those
And then
before.
some will pay you for the words and stuff. And I like those. Those are like, I'll finish my story. You give me my $200. We're good. Everything's good.
Yeah.
But some other ways that fund. If you're this isn't for everybody. It's barely even for me. But a credit card is a nice way to do things. A credit card is a nice way to do things, especially since um you can write most of your stuff off come tax season. So, you use your credit card. It helps you keep track of things. I'm not gonna say go out there and like burn your credit card down to the ground to do things, but like every now and then, if you want to do something, that's fine. And
It is
oh,
helpful for timing, like when
yeah,
this has to be purchased now, but now is not a
yeah,
great time for me to purchase this.
definitely, yeah. Also, I did merch for a little while. I was very good with merch. Selling t-shirts and hats and things like that was pretty
I
fun.
do that too. I've got
Yeah,
tote bags, the art prints. I have
yeah,
stickers that I designed and made and ordered. I've got so Printful is a website that will like
printful.
do your merch for you. You create the designs, it'll charge you for however much the like base cost of something is, and then you get the remainder of however much you are charging for it from. Essentially, Printful is your distributor. So,
Mm,
like, if I have a t-shirt and it's on sale on Etsy for $30, and Printful will charge me the like 9.50 for the shirt, and then I'll get the full $30 from
yeah,
Etsy.
I
But
think it's
merch can be a really like it's not quite a there's still going to be a little bit of cost at the onset, but
yeah,
with things like stickers, that can be a really easy way to do it because you can get like like a lot of stickers for not much money. And then if you're selling each sticker for like $3 to $5, you'll have paid for them and then some very quickly. And
yeah.
like people love stickers, guys. We love them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I use Printful. That connects with my Shopify, and from Shopify, I can put them on my TikTok, and I could put them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. So that's Printful is amazing. I love it, and it feeds my Canva addiction. So I do that. So
We talked about being wary of classes, but I was going to say teach a class. I think this is probably easier if your day job is teaching, which mine is, if you're associated with a school through which you can say, "Hey, students, would you like to do a class after, whenever after school or whatever point in time?" Writers and books, like I said, the Rochester place, you could apply to be a teacher and teach a class with them. It helps a lot if you have that, someone has sort of credentialed you, or someone has said like, hey, this person is legitimate. Um, it can be very, very, very slow. The first time I did that, I had two students, but they were super interested in
Two is more
writing.
than zero.
Two is not zero, exactly. And I think we had a great time. And I mean, circumstances, both a job change and COVID made it so I actually only did that one. But I feel like if I had done it consistently, I could have sort of built up a reputation as, hey, this is someone who actually has something to offer to folks, and perhaps earned it that way, earned
Yeah,
money that
I did
way.
similar through a local community college. Just
Yeah, exactly. I
yeah.
actually teach at a community college. And the other thing I wanted to say though is, what do you need the money for? What money can you supply yourself? And can you instead carve out time to either do this thing yourself or learn how to do it yourself? Because I think in a lot of our lives, it's easier to sort of carve out more time. Not easy, but easier than it is to figure out how to make more money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
I had
think.
mentioned earlier also trading. I know Jen talked about that co-op she's a part of. I'm not a part of a formal co-op, but I have traded lots of things. Like, I edit someone else's work so they will edit mine. I, give feedback. I lay out a book for somebody because I have the software and they don't, and they'll do something else for me.
Yeah. For me, I'm not the type of person who realistically, my biggest expense that isn't like a living expense and isn't author related now that I'm kind of chugging along is buying myself books. Um, and so I just kind of made myself a budget of like, okay, I can put aside like X amount of money when I was getting started. Like I can put aside like $50 a paycheck towards getting the things I need to publish. Because you can start with a very small budget using the things that we kind of mentioned earlier, like um, more affordable covers, smaller things. Like you're going to scale as you go. And the longer you do this, the more expensive it will get simply because you're at a higher level and so you want more things or you need to do more things, but at that point you're also bringing in more money. When you're getting started, you can start with like, if you can't afford a writing program, there are plenty of free writing options out there, or options like Scrivener where it's like you buy it once and you never have to worry about it becoming subscription based. For like newsletters, most newsletter providers don't start charging you until you're above like X hundred of subscribers. You just have to figure out like when you're getting started, if you're funding yourself, which I was, what your priorities are for what you're paying for, because I couldn't find any grants around me. And so my options were because I was in a weird situation where my rights reverted very suddenly. My options were either I do this myself or I'm no longer a published author. And I was not willing to do option B, so I figured out a way to make option A happen. And to be very frank, it mostly happened because I had friends. I had a friend who formatted my book for me. I had a friend who was in that co-op and was like, "Hey, like come come with me and I'll show you the way." And then the other thing is that then once you're in that position, then the important thing is to turn around and reach your hand down to the person who comes down after you, because they might not be able to afford it or do it all the way you can now, but that doesn't mean you can't help them along the way. Like it's that great essay about like you send the elevator back down for the person who comes after you, because like we get through this as a community together. Like other authors are not my competition; they're my colleagues. Like, of course, I want them to do well. Like I want to do well too, but like that author over there doing well doesn't mean that I can't also do well.
Any kind of final thoughts from the panel about the discussion we've had today about publishing on a shoestring budget before we do our final?
The last thing I'll say is just like it's tricky, but you can do it. You're gonna get better at it over time. And to reach out to the people that are a step ahead of you and ask them like, what do you wish you had done differently before you knew better? And what do you like, What things do you wish you had invested in earlier that were worth it? And what things do you wish you had not invested in earlier because they weren't worth it? And that can help you to make a more informed decision about like what your path is as an author and what kind of spend you're looking at.
And it's an individual thing, right? It's all about all the things you're trying to do in your life and the balance of all of those things. So what works for me is not necessarily what works for somebody else and vice versa.
Yeah, you definitely just have to look at your life. Don't get too wrapped up in how everybody else is promoting. I know people were doing book boxes and stuff, and some people can't afford that. Like, if you can only send out ebooks, then just send out ebooks. Do what works for you, and don't get discouraged because you can't do everything.
Do your research. Reedsy, there's a website, Reedsy, Reedsy, has a lot of great blogs on how to do various things yourself and just writing advice in general. Um, and take notes on your process. I think it was Jen that said you're gonna learn more as you do this, and that was one thing I regretted a little bit. I did take some notes. I wish I had written down more about the time frames and the things that worked and things that didn't work, and you'll revise that process as you go through. I mean, I only have two books out, so it's not like I have it greatly revised, but I know way more now than I did at the beginning of this journey.
Well, thank you all so much for being here. One last time, I'm going to ask you all to kind of let everybody know who you are and what you write. And this time, go ahead and let us know where we can find your work.
One last time, am Jen Karner. I am an award-winning author of fantasy and horror with kissing. You can find my website at www.jenkarner.com. And my books are available pretty much everywhere books are sold.
I'm Samantha Bryant. I'm a multi-genre author, superhero, horror, science fiction, fantasy, and now romance. And probably you should just go to my website to see the bulk of it, and that's dangerouswhenbored.com.
My name is Neal Holtschulte. I write science fiction. I have two books out. The first is called Crew of Exiles. The second is called Tall Boy's Son. My science fiction is going to have characters that you're going to remember. Tall Boy Son, I'm very proud of it. It's a very personal story about family and addiction and redemption and starships because I like starships. And you can find me. My website is my name, nealholtschulte.com. You can spell it by looking at the Zoom there. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about whatever I want to talk about, books and writing, and mostly just books I've enjoyed, called Haste Writing, Haste Writing. Um, and that's where you can find me.
All right. My name is Sylvester Barzey. I am an award-winning horror author. And mostly, if you want to look for me on social media, you can find me on Threads or Instagram at Sylvester Barzey. I'm at Sylvester Barzey everywhere, but those are the only two apps that I really check on. And you can find all my books at sylvesterbarzey.com.
And I've been your host, Tej. If you want to find me, just look for Rabid Haberdashery. Thank you so much for joining us for this panel. I thank you to all the panelists. Thank you for the discussion in the Discord. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of Red Hat 2026. Thank you and have a good night.
Have a good day.